News You Need is a look at current events and how they affect the college community and beyond. News You Need is sponsored by USM Partners for the Arts. And now here's the host of News You Need, Dr. Ed Simpson.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to another exciting edition of News You Need. This is a program where we talk with the best people in the whole world, which is our USM students, about what's going on in the world of news and what they're talking about. So we kind of eavesdrop a little bit on what our students are thinking about. So we have a eclectic group with us today. It is the day before spring break, so the fact we have any students still here is kind of interesting. So let's introduce ourselves. Let's start with you, Cinnamon. Our producer is jumping on today to help fill out the conversation just a bit.
Hi, you guys. My name is Cinnamon Lee. I'm a senior Communication Studies major with a minor in social media content and strategy.
Whoa.
Alrighty, my name's Stephanie Riles. I'm a senior kinesiology exercise science major, and I'm from Purvis, Mississippi.
My name is Kelsey Bolden, and I am a senior strategic communications major with minors in English and Spanish, and I'm from Madison, Mississippi.
Excellent. So kinesiology.
Yes.
What do you want? So you said you were a senior?
Yes, sir. I'm graduating in December, so a little senior, junior combo right there.
So what's going on in kinesiology? What are y'all doing?
Well, we've been doing a lot of research. I know our professors are very passionate about that. They've been doing a lot of research on just different jump techniques and different biomechanics, things like that.
Jump techniques for what?
Yes, so they essentially just test weighted jumps. So they test like how hard the force athletes use during jumps, during weights and things like that.
Okay, so this is for athletics.
Yes, it's
not
for
old people.
No, not old people. I mean, I guess it could be applied to both if you really think about it, but it really is used for athletes, and it's a way to test the force of your jumps and how they can improve probably training to kind of help improve that force that you're making during your jump, or improve shoe mechanics, things like that. So.
Well, that's fascinating,
yes,
actually. And
yes.
so you're a senior. What's next for you? Where are you headed?
So I'm applying to different physical therapy programs in the fall. Hopefully I'll be able to attend one of those and get my doctorate in that. And
you've got long-term plans.
Yes.
We'll talk about doctorates after the show.
Awesome.
I have one. So we have two other seniors. Yeah. So Cinnamon, would you like to share your news?
Oh, yes. So I got accepted into grad school at Ole Miss.
Yes.
In their integrated marketing communications program.
That's excellent. So we're sorry to lose you, but that's a great program and very excited for you. And Kelsey, you're a senior. What's next for you? Aren't you looking at grad school too?
I am. Grad school is on the horizon, so I've been looking at a couple places. I may work a little before, stack my money, as they say.
Yeah, well, so there you go. So let me give you my speech that I give the folks. Cinnamon has heard this before, so she's going to roll her eyes. It's an old man thing. I like the idea of working. Work 3 to 5 years. Figure out if you really need grad school for your career, because going to grad school to stop the clock on entering life is an expensive, not necessarily good decision. So that's my thought. Just one person, one old guy sitting here. You have a very specific career path, so you need to go through, get the doctorate.
Yes.
You're always. Is that the research? Is that what you're looking at?
No, it's going to be a doctorate of physical therapy, so I'll be able to prescribe exercises to patients that are going through rehabilitation processes with physical decrements that they have suffered with. So I'll be going into more of the medical aspect of it, but I do have a big interest in research, so doors always open for that as well.
That's really fascinating. Yeah. Are you an athlete?
I used to be an athlete, and that kind of introduced my interest into the physical therapy world. I tore 3 ligaments my senior year.
Yikes.
So I had to go through a lot of rehab for that, and I was like, this is something I could see myself doing for a really long time. Yes.
Volleyball?
Basketball, volleyball, and tennis. But basketball is the one that took me out, so yeah.
I am not. I played basketball in high school. Yeah, I averaged 2.1 points a game. and I lettered my senior year. It took me till my senior year, but I got it. So anyway, it's all very exciting. Nice. Okay, so what are our students talking about? What's in the news that you guys are excited about? Anything? What's rising up?
I I would say, like, currently that I've been seeing a lot of, because I follow Mississippi Today on, like, all their social media.
Yeah.
And so I've been seeing a lot about, like, you know, the all-white, like, appointed, like, what was it, court type of deal?
Yeah.
I just keep seeing stuff about that. And that's been really in my feed. And then as well as, like, you know, sports stuff with USM, like baseball.
So, yeah, so we'll talk a little bit about Jackson here in a minute, but you guys follow the basketball team?
Yeah, on the show I just did, we always have a sports segment, so I'm always kind of in the know about sports.
Yeah, this is not the show if you care about sports for sure. But we lost. But I do hear that we likely will go to the NIT. Do you care?
I care. I mean, Jackson was just on the Jackson Howell, co-host of 4th Street Sports Show, was just on saying that they may, 4th Street guys may do a little segment on that Sunday night, depending on what happens. So I may be tuned in. I care.
There you go.
Yeah.
Do you follow USM?
Yes, I do. I follow a lot of the athletics. I think the athletics are one of the things that really boost student morale, and so obviously, like, as far as we can go into any type of tournament or anything like that, I think that's better for the students and it's better for the Southern Miss community overall. So.
Okay, and baseball season started?
Yeah.
And did we lose the first series?
We won our first series, I'm pretty sure. And then we just recently lost, though, we play Ole Miss Tuesday.
Yeah. So we'll see how this season goes. A lot of hopes for this season, so we'll see. Anything else going on that you got? So Jackson, Cinnamon was referring to the legislation that is moving through the state legislature about creating a new court district up in Jackson, the city of Jackson, in Hinds County. And it's created headlines all across the country that the fact that in a 80% population of African Americans, a bunch of white state officials will be appointing judges in a city that has an 80% African American population. So that New York Times has done stories on it, CNN, MSNBC, a lot of these folks. You guys follow, so you're following this a little bit?
Like here and there. Like I haven't really like read in depth about it, like really into detail, but like I pretty much know what you just said about it.
Yeah. Have you watched that issue at all?
Honestly, I haven't. I've kind of like Cinnamon, I've glossed over it in the social media feed, but I guess we've been so busy with the things of student life that I just haven't been able to really dive too deep into that.
Yeah.
I have been following. It hits a little close to home because even though I'm from Madison, I've always gone to school in Jackson, and I also have family in Jackson. So, of course, like you said, it's just really amazing to me that we have so many black residents, but white people representing, you know. That's really something to me.
Yeah, it's an ongoing issue, and it's something that has caught the attention of the nation, along with some other kind of whack legislation that has been moving through. And actually, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Well, maybe we have just a few seconds here. So, anything else going on that you're checking about?
I saw like the drag law, like drag.
Oh
shows.
yeah, let's talk about that. That is
Yeah.
that is fascinating. So we are going to take a break, and we'll pick up with drag shows on the other side.
Recognition for your business or product, appreciation from a dedicated audience, and establishing yourself as a caring member of the Hattiesburg community are only a few of the benefits of sponsoring programming on WUSM. In addition, our very cost-effective underwriting rates are tax deductible. To learn more about the upsides of underwriting programming on WUSM, call 601-266-4287. Research shows that audiences feel positively about businesses that underwrite programming on their community radio station. Research also shows that the audiences are likely to patronize businesses that support community radio programming. The audience also believes that businesses that support community radio care about their community. If you want to build this type of relationship with WUSM's audience, call us at 601-266-4287 to ask about sponsoring programming. It's more than just exposure, it's building a community relationship.
On right now. Hello everyone. I'm getting the thumbs up from Shania, our engineer. So we were talking about, Cinnamon was bringing up the interesting law out of Tennessee where they have banned public drag shows. So this actually came up in last week's show. Are you guys talking about this at all? You said no, you have not heard of this?
I do. Well, I haven't really talked about it with anyone, but on my Instagram page, I try to like post a lot of awareness about this bill that's being, in the works. So, because I think it's really important and harmful, personally.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a minute. Why is it harmful?
Well, because I don't know any negative effect that drag shows have. Like, it's just people expressing themselves, and I'm very sensitive to issues like this. I don't personally know anyone who does drag, but still, I mean, it's just a form of expression. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same way, and I don't know, I just, what's the word I'm looking for? I just feel like it's not like a real issue, like a legitimate issue, and like, dog whistle isn't a word. I don't think that's a word.
No, we're long past dog whistles,
Yeah.
right? We are in your face.
You're solving issues that don't exist.
Right, exactly right. It's a solution searching for a problem, is what a lot of people say. So this is among a lot of legislation you're seeing across the country, primarily from Republican governors, Republican legislators, that are fighting what we call cultural wars, right? Are you all watching the culture wars? Things like banning drag shows, and I do want to bring up this this idea of banning DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, from campuses, defunding efforts like that. Are you following those kinds of debate? Is that rising up among our students?
I follow it in my feed, like with the banning like African studies, like AP, like
Yes.
African studies and stuff, which is
Yeah.
a whole another deal.
I have heard about it. I don't think it's something that is, I think that it's very important that we recognize that sort of stuff is starting to happen, but I think it's so important that those of us that do believe in like holding on to those different classes and those different positions in diversity, equity, and inclusion, like I feel like that's so important that we like take note of that, and we recognize that like things that are so important for the education of our students are starting to, kind of be ripped out. And I think that that's really important that we all like acknowledge that that's happening. Personally, like I have not seen a whole lot about that, and I think that that's kind of an issue in itself, that maybe not a lot of our students know that that's happening. So.
Right. Well, let me pause there for a second and make my case for the news. And Cinnamon's laughing already because she's heard me say this 1,000 times. Actually, this is what this show is kind of all about. I totally agree. I think that's a super point, is that our salvation or certainly if not our salvation, but the steps to what we do next is found in our young people. And if our young people don't know what's going on, or these issues are bypassing them in their very busy lives, then how are they supposed to engage? Well, how do you engage is reading the news. You check in. I love that Cinnamon has said Mississippi Today. I love Mississippi Today. It's a nonprofit news organization based in Jackson. How I read the news, for whatever it's worth, is every morning I'll watch CNN, MSNBC, and Fox, and I also have a CNBC channel, which is a business channel that I'll check in on. Then I'll come in, I'll look at the New York Times, and I'll look at a couple of higher education publications. It takes about an hour. I don't expect our students to spend an hour on it, although somebody did tell me the other day they spend about 4 hours a day on TikTok. How many hours are you spending on TikTok? Cinnamon?
I do have a limit set, so like it tells me I try not to spend more time than 45 minutes, but I don't have a habit of like canceling the limit. Like whenever it pops up, I'm like, ignore for today.
Oh,
It's
really?
It's bad.
Okay.
I'd probably say maybe 2 hours. I would say
Okay.
2.5, because I know when I'm spending too much time. I have to stop.
It's just fascinating.
Yeah.
I've tried to make steps to kind of like limit my screen time on that kind of stuff. So I did delete TikTok. But my issue is that there's a thing called Instagram Reels that are the same exact thing as TikTok, and I know that. But for some reason, I'll spend probably an hour and a half a day on Instagram Reels, completely defeating the purpose of even deleting TikTok in the first place. So.
Well, ever since the university, we couldn't access TikTok through public Wi-Fi. I have not really been on TikTok.
Interesting. So you're not one of those that switched over to your private data?
I mean, I've tried. I just have had issues, so I just gave up altogether. So Twitter is now my fix.
There you go. Well, Twitter at least will present you headlines and information and that kind of stuff. Yeah. So what do you see on Reels?
It's genuinely, I think it's the same exact things that people see on TikTok, just like 2 weeks delayed, like if the trends are just a little bit,
The
off.
same people?
Same people. I mean, people will send me things on Instagram Reels, and it's the same thing as people show me from their TikTok. So it's
Interesting.
it's really
stuff.
defeating
Okay.
the purpose of
All right.
even deleting the app.
Yeah, so my argument is, and nobody ever listens to me, but the argument is that take 20% of your TikTok/Reels time and devote it to educating yourself about your society. And I know it sounds boring, but I will tell you, like when you go to the party and you can start talking about what's in the news, people think you're the smartest person in the room. So there is some value to it occasionally, So what's going on in higher ed is really interesting. So this is a story from Inside Higher Ed. That's one of the two places that I go to every morning. The other is Chronicle.com. Both are higher education things. And they did a really interesting story on 3 governors across the nation, Florida, Texas, and Virginia, that are passing or attempting to pass similar, and they're calling them reforms, higher education reforms. I think reforms, it connotates some sort of positive movement. I don't think it's a positive. I think it's certainly a change, but it's definitely a much more conservative agenda. So among other things, this is according to Inside Higher Ed, all 3 governors aim to defund diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, provide trustees more power over hiring, allow for post-tenure faculty review, and eliminate majors in certain subjects focused on race and gender. So you're shaking your head. Which one, any of those
Well, yeah,
are
all
more
of them.
outrageous than the other?
I think all of them are pretty bad. Like, just taking it out. I don't see the point in doing that. Like, what are they trying to do? I feel like, especially with higher education, like, they're just, I don't know, I mean, you should prevent people from, like, kind of pursuing whatever they want when it comes to higher education, I guess. And, like, I don't get, blacking out stuff.
So what is
not the
wrong with a
case.
women's studies major inherently, right? That's your argument. What is the harm in a women's studies major?
Yeah, I'm going to kind of bounce off of what Cinnamon said. I don't see the harm in educating people on things I think that people should be educated about, because obviously I think we lack that a little bit today anyway, so I feel like it's going to do more harm, ripping that away from our students for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely going to make some people feel isolated and, that as well.
I think it's interesting and I mainly see these issues being perceived as issues for Republican, like, legislators and politicians. I mean, I guess they're seeing these, like, topics, like studies about race and gender and sexuality and topics like those as propaganda in a way, which is really interesting to me. I don't understand the rationale behind it, and like everyone else said, I don't see harm in knowledge. But I think these Republican politicians feel like it's just the wrong knowledge, or maybe it's just not worth being studied, and that's really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Maybe they're scared the agenda is being pushed on their children.
Right, exactly.
Well, and that's
Quote,
come up. That's come up, right? So in Florida, part of what they've already approved is a new way of picking library books in elementary, junior high, and high schools. So the only way you can get a book in a school library in Florida is if it's approved by a professional media specialist. I didn't know we had such things, but apparently there are. And what has happened is parents across the state and others, students and just community members in general, have been filing complaints with local school boards saying you need to take these books out of the library. And in some cases they're saying, yeah, okay, you're right, because based on this new law, they can. One of the books they take out, now I don't remember the title, maybe you guys remember the title. One of the books they took out of one of the Florida schools was a children's book on 2 male penguins that had adopted a baby penguin and raised it in the zoo. And it's a real story. I mean, it actually happened. You guys remember that? It was like 3 or 4 years ago. So they made a children's book out of that, and they took it out of the public school. And the argument was 2 males raising a baby. What do you think?
I think people have issues with everything. I remember in regards to, like, book banning and even book burning, mouse was a big issue too. which I can't remember the author, but that I think had to do with like the Holocaust, or like it was a Jewish story, I believe. So, I mean, this isn't a new trend, and I feel like it's going to keep happening if we allow this to keep happening.
Right.
But it's just ridiculous in my opinion.
Okay, we're going to keep going for another couple of minutes. Okay, I'm looking at our rundown. Okay, yeah, so that kind of stuff is going on all across the country, and of course this is within the context of the presidential race heating up. Have you guys following the presidential politics at all?
I heard that Biden is looking for re-election.
Well, we think so, yeah.
And then Ron DeSantis.
And, okay, there you go. So there was a story today that Ron DeSantis, the Florida governor, is telling people he's running again. He hasn't made his official announcement yet. So are you following this at all? Presidential politics?
Here and there, when I see it on social media, I'll go and I'll dig into it a little bit, but I'm not. I guess it's because I know it's in the future, I know it's coming up, I know that I need to start looking into it, but as of right now, I haven't super been into that. No, I haven't.
Did you vote in the last election?
I did.
Yeah? So, okay, well, you'll likely will vote in the next
Yes.
one, right? Okay, so this is where when you talk about issues like higher education, changes in higher education, we get that from politicians, and politicians we get from voting, right? And we vote based on what we know. So that's, again, I'm going to wrap that back to why we care about the news, right?
Yes.
Is that it's all about that. So that's what's going on. And the one thing I was going to, let me throw another couple of headlines at you here. Did you catch about the Justice Department report on Louisville police? So Breonna Taylor, does that ring a bell?
Yes.
So Breonna Taylor was a young black woman who was shot by police in a mistaken raid. So the police were serving a warrant. They got the wrong apartment. They shot at Breonna's boyfriend. It turned out to be that wasn't what the warrant was for, but they ended up shooting at her boyfriend, and the bullet went by and killed her. And the result has been protests and all kinds of stuff over the last couple of years. Well, yesterday, the U.S. Department of Justice issued a report that says, quote, finds pattern of discriminatory policing in Louisville. So this happened in Louisville, Kentucky. Did that come up on your radars, and what do you think about
I haven't
that?
seen that. But that's bad that like they found like discriminatory practices though. Because police most people feel they should feel like safe with police, but that's very, very questionable now.
Interesting.
But you would think that like people who are chosen to like uphill or enforce the law or uphold it would be like not discriminatory.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's hard to feel safe, or I'll speak for myself, to feel safe around police these days, especially when there's always the possibility that you could get killed because they have weapons and they're human. So.
Yeah. What do you think?
I completely agree. Like, personally, I know that, like, that's something that has been a big concern over the past several years. And I think that, like, going back to the, taking away in higher education diversity, equity, and inclusion studies, I feel like that is not going to aid in that situation at all. Like, that's going to continue to be a problem if we don't educate people.
Yeah, so that's a big circle, right?
Yes.
Okay, we are going to take a break, and I'm being nodded. Yes, that is the right thing to do. We're going to take a break, and we're going to pick up with a few other headlines after the break.
If you or your business is interested in sponsoring programming on WUSM, we'd love to talk to you about the benefits and opportunities. You can get recognition for your business as well as the appreciation of the WUSM audience. The audience realizes your support provides the programming they listen to daily. In addition, our sponsorship rates are very cost-effective and tax-deductible. To learn more, call 601-266-4287. When you or your business sponsors programming on WUSM, you are getting more than recognition for your product. You are also gaining the appreciation of our audience who understands that your sponsorship provides their favorite programming. And research shows that the audience is more likely to patronize your business, too. In addition, the cost of sponsoring programming on WUSM is tax-deductible. To learn more, call 601-266-4287.
Okay, we are back, and I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. A couple other headlines that I'd be a little surprised if you hear about, but I'm interested to see what you think about the issue. So CNBC, which is a business broadcast network, has this headline on their website: huge hunger cliff looms, warns expert. Average recipient to get $90 less in food stamps as COVID aid ends. So the idea that about 3 years ago now, federal government passed a whole bunch of programs to help people navigate the COVID pandemic when they shut everything down. Well, now all of that kind of stuff is ending. And there's been this, okay, families have gotten used to this extra aid now for 3 or so years. Now we're going to take that away. Thoughts?
Sad. I mean, it's not an issue that personally affects me, but I can still empathize with those who it does affect. Especially in a state like Mississippi, where we just cannot afford to have people not be able to afford food in general. So yeah.
It's the same thing. I do just wonder what they're expecting the people who receive those benefits to do. Like, are they just leaving them in the dirt, or having some type of replacement, or a plan in place, which I probably doubt it. But like Kelsey said, I can definitely empathize with the people who are doing it, especially those who live out in Mississippi Delta, notable food deserts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It can be very sad to see something as basic as food can be hard to get access to.
Yeah, and I feel like if the price of things isn't going to continue to drop, then why take away those extra funds from people that truly do need them? Because it's very difficult, I know, even for people that aren't on welfare to get quality, nutritious food. And that's something that I've been super interested in, is that the struggle of just food need is just something that is so harmful. And I know that it also goes along to do with things in the medical field. It's so, sorry, I'm about to go on a little rant. It's just so difficult for people that are already on welfare and already on food stamps to go and get nutritious food and to nourish their families with things that are healthy. And so taking away those extra funds can even harm them even more, and it can make it difficult for them to get what they need and to nourish their family the proper way. And so that is just something that, as somebody that wants to go into healthcare, that just kind of drives me nuts. So.
Yeah. Now the other side of that, of course, is, hey, this was meant to be pandemic relief. Pandemic is over. Do we want taxpayers to pay for this kind of stuff forever? That's the other side of that argument. Your argument might be food is so important. That's a pretty good expense. They're nodding doesn't work very well on radio.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
I definitely.
I
I
found
definitely agree.
taxes for the social welfare of others.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially like I said, in Mississippi, Jackson is a city that I really see, that need. I mean, everywhere needs good quality food.
Yes.
Cinnamon was talking about food deserts, especially in population. And I won't get into that, but I think it also can encourage stealing as well, which is not something I hear a lot of people talk about. Some people steal from grocery stores and places where they need food because they can't afford food. And everyone seems to hate stealing, but they never really examine the cause of why people steal.
Yeah.
So that goes back to this cause and effect, right? You take away education, there are consequences. You take away food, there are consequences. So great discussion, guys. Thank you very much. You guys are awesome as always. I know the news can feel a little bleak sometimes, but we have to look at these issues if we're going to help our society get where it wants to go, right? So this has been News You Need. This is a production of Southern Miss Student Media. Our engineer is Shania Williams. Our producer is Cinnamon Lee. And we will see you actually 2 weeks from now, because next week is spring break and our students will be off doing whatever students do on spring break. And so we'll be back in about 2 weeks.